Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a really powerful guide on gratitude and humility. It's actually derived directly from a deeply inspiring sermon by Pastor Elvis, where he breaks down exactly what it means to live a life totally anchored in thankfulness. Let's be real. In our fast-paced world, it is incredibly easy to just move from one milestone to the next without ever pausing to look back. But today, we're going to slow things down. We're exploring 6 foundational things that believers are urged to literally never forget.
All right, let's dive right in. King David actually sets the absolute foundation for this entire discussion with a simple directive to his own soul from Psalm 103, forget not all his benefits. It's a command to intentionally remember the good things we receive. And Pastor Elvis points out something really crucial here. This doesn't just mean the massive, life-altering miracles, right? It means the small gifts, the daily shelters, the little provisions. Gratitude is totally a muscle, and remembering is exactly how we exercise it.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We're looking at 6 crucial pillars of remembrance: God's favors, the past, the Word, the Creator, our leaders, and finally, the ultimate sacrifice.
Okay, pillar number 1, God's favors, and honestly the danger of forgetting them.
There is such a stark contrast between our natural human tendencies and biblical instruction. Pastor Elvis uses this super relatable example in his sermon. He talks about how incredibly hard it is to build a house. Like, people literally get white hair before they ever secure a home of their own. Yet, when that massive blessing finally arrives, our human tendency is to get so wrapped up in the excitement of the new house that we completely forget the one who actually provided it. The biblical instruction, though, is to constantly give thanks for every single favor. Whether it's passing the 10th grade or getting a brand new home, we absolutely cannot let the blessing cause us to puff up our chests and forget the source.
Moving on to number 2, remembering your past, or your humble beginnings.
This is such a great story. The pastor shares this highly relatable everyday memory. He specifically recalls a time when he had absolutely nothing. No house, not even a bike. And then, a minister sent him a bicycle on a bus. It was his very first one. He remembers the pure joy of learning to ride it, even wiping out in the rain, and how that humble little gift taught him the value of what he calls sowing into others. Anchoring our minds to our own first bicycle moments keeps the lofty idea of humility totally grounded. It basically stops us from flying so high that we forget what it feels like to be on the ground.
Think about the spiritual evolution mentioned by the Apostle Paul in Ephesians. It's like a journey, right? In the past, believers were considered foreigners, totally without hope. Then comes the transition, being brought near. And finally, the present, where one is blessed, transformed, and elevated. The source material emphasizes something really important here. Remembering your past isn't about feeling shame. Actually, scratch that. It's more like recognizing the distance you've traveled and the grace that carried you, just ensuring we never become arrogant in our present elevation.
All right, that brings us to pillar 3, holding on to the Word and keeping those promises.
You know how it is, right? When people get a new home, they love to find beautiful biblical verses, frame them up, and hang them on the walls. Hey, it looks great. But King Solomon, in Proverbs 3:1, gives us a much deeper directive. He reminds us that the most important place to store these teachings isn't on drywall. It's deep down within our hearts. If God gave you a promise, a vision, or even just a word of comfort in a really dark time, you absolutely must not let it slip away the second things get bright again.
Now, this brings up a really fascinating dilemma. We are human. We forget the favors, we forget our humble past, and honestly, we forget the Word. So, how exactly does the Creator react when we inevitably mess up these first 3 pillars? Which leads us straight into number 4, the Creator, and His endless forgiveness.
Okay, consider this stark comparison because the source text makes a brilliantly observant point about human behavior. We humans can be, well, incredibly petty. If someone offends us, boom, we hold a grudge. We might literally refuse to speak to our neighbors for days over a super minor misunderstanding. We puff up our faces and just shut people out. But the divine grace described in the Psalms, it shows a Creator who acts like a loving, patient parent dealing with a toddler. When we forget Him, instead of immediate wrath, He actually holds back His anger. He smiles. He repeatedly lets our trespasses go. We can never forget this endlessly forgiving nature of our Creator, because honestly, it's the very grace that sustains us.
Pillar number 5, our leaders and helpers, or the value of the wrapper.
I absolutely love this analogy from the sermon. Imagine getting a truly spectacular gift. What do most of us do? We just rip off the wrapping paper, toss it in the trash, and only care about the gift inside. Well, Pastor Elvis warns us not to treat people like wrapping paper. The leaders, the mentors, the people who prayed for you, the ones who introduced you to faith, they are literally the wrapper that delivered the divine gift into your life. Even the Apostle Paul made it a huge point to actively remember and thank the individuals who helped him. So we must never discard or forget the human helpers in our lives once we finally receive the blessing.
And finally, Pillar 6, the ultimate sacrifice and remembrance at the table.
Do this in remembrance of me. It's a simple directive regarding the bread and the cup at the Last Supper, but it anchors the entire Christian faith. Way beyond the daily favors, beyond the bicycles and the new houses, this reminds believers of the ultimate sacrifice. It's the act of remembering that Jesus gave his life to bring humanity into reconciliation with the Father. Pastor Elvis notes that when the Lord faced death, he instituted a meal that was entirely based on the act of remembering. This is the ultimate, absolute, non-negotiable pillar to never forget.
So let's lock this comprehensive blueprint in really quick. We start with acknowledging personal favors, which keeps us grateful. We remember our humble past to keep us grounded. We hold on to the divine word because it guides our path. We remember the forgiving Creator, reminding us of our constant need for grace. We honor faithful leaders to stay connected to our community. And we remember Jesus' ultimate sacrifice, which forms the very core of the faith. You see, this isn't just a list. It is a full-on blueprint for a spiritually grounded life.
I really want to leave you with this final thought to ponder today. We all forget things, right? It's just part of being human. But knowing that the Creator gives us so much grace when we fail, we have this beautiful opportunity to try again. So what I want to ask you is, which of these 6 pillars will you intentionally choose to remember today? Are you going to text a leader who helped you out? Are you going to look back at your own first bicycle moment and just smile? Take these insights, pull them off the screen, and bring them right into your everyday life. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in this explainer. Stay curious, stay grateful, and I will catch you next time.